Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
What up, Glenn?
Hey, man. Morning, Mikey.
Hey, how you doing?
Now I got this frog in or an alligator in my throat.
Yeah, right, exactly. Get rid of that alligator, man. You can't change the alligator.
Alligators don't fly.
That's it. I knew it was something like that. Can't change. I don't know.
Alligators don't fly.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
I don't think it couldn't be going any better.
I know, right?
You?
Good. And really good, actually. So good that sometimes it scares me. I mean, do you get that? Do you get the sense that do you ever? I mean, my brain will go, "Whoa, things are so good right now. Things are so good right now. Something the shoe's got to drop, the floor's got to fall, whatever. However you say that, I my brain goes there occasionally. What is going to go south on me?
I think that's the bad dude.
Yeah,
Just do.
yeah.
I just do. And, I mean, hey, there's times I wake up at 2 a.m. and almost like a near panic, because I can think of the, right, 8 challenging things that are facing me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all 8 line up in a wave, and they're all just crashing on me at 2 a.m. and right? But I've learned to work my way out of that very quickly.
That's great.
And the first thing I'm doing is like, okay, first of all, here's my proof. Over the last 10 years-ish being sober, there is not a single situation where I have not been able to get through. Mm-hmm. That's proof. Mm-hmm. And I think, oh man, these 8 things are crushing me. Oh my gosh, what if? I'm like, okay, I have 8 or 80,000 pieces of proof over the last 10 years that I've gotten through situations.
Right. So here's the thing.
I have confidence today.
You have confidence, okay.
And I also make a list very quickly of what's going right.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got 80 things going right and 8 challenges in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do great things without having great challenges.
Right.
You just can't. So I think when I see the challenges, it just means I'm doing great stuff. Mm-hmm. And another thing is, big learning point. I'm not sure.
No, we're on topic.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you want me to jump in.
No, jump in.
When I think of those 8 challenges, 10 years ago, I thought I was Superman. Mm-hmm. I thought I was God, and I would handle everything. Right now, man, I know when I'm over my skis. Mm-hmm. And the first thing I do is I reach out to great people for help, I'm sitting there and I'm doing some really big stuff, man, and a lot of responsibility and a lot of pressure. I don't even, for an ounce, fake that I know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I just don't. And my thing right now is I have a network of experts, and you're one of them. We have a church group of experts. I mean, I am amazed at the network that I have built of people who will pick up the phone call, talk to me, and give me advice, give me input, give me help. Now some of them do it for free. Some of them I got to pay $1,000 an hour for, but I've got them. Right. And I think the real secret to a real good sober life is you got to be able to accept help, and help is asking for help is a superpower. Mm-hmm. But you've been in business, your whole business life, you figure it out yourself.
Sure, absolutely.
My dad, God, I love my dad. So he was such a great, the more I look back, such a great force in my life. But he's like, son, figure it out. Mm-hmm. Don't ask me, figure it out. And I get it. And that helps to an extent, right? You want to be self-reliant, right? But to some degree, you got to ask for help. You don't want to be 75% of the way to hell and say, oops, I should have asked somebody.
Right. Well, I think this is a good bookend, because I think we're going to come right back to this at the end of our session here. So, did I just call it a session like you're my therapist?
No, you're my therapist. This is great.
So we attended a
I
dinner.
can't believe that you wanted to end your annual contract because they ran out of blue and they stopped making blue M&Ms.
I know. Well, I'm going to have to segue
Yellow.
into yellow. So we attended a dinner this week for Arcosa. We've had Stevie G.
I love Arcosa,
we've
man.
had Stevie G on before. If you get a chance, go back and listen to Stevie G. It's Arcosa, RCOSA, Arcosa.
.org.
And it's Sober Living House. So
Nonprofit, 32 years. Steve Greenberg, executive director, quite a missionary, helped thousands of professionals
of people.
achieve long-term sobriety.
Yeah.
Average length of stay is almost 12 months.
Yeah.
Most sober living homes, average length of stay is like 3.2 weeks.
Right.
Says it all.
Yep. So they had their annual fundraiser this week, and you and I both attended the dinner, and it was fantastic.
Those amazing stories, weren't they?
Well, here's the thing, and that's what I want to talk about today. There was a young man who got up there, and shit happened to this kid. So he gets sober after.
Which one? The first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he maybe the second one, I'm not sure, but he gets sober, right? Which is he gets into days of sobriety, just days of sobriety, and shit just starts happening to this kid. I mean, death, the death of his mom, the death of a friend. I mean, so he's trying to glue his life together from the havoc he wreaked, right? But it didn't stop. Life didn't stop just because he flipped the switch of recovery for himself. Life kept happening in the most drastic. I mean, when I say shit happens, I get upset. I get upset when when the stock market goes the wrong way. That's not shit happening. I'm talking about real shit that happens, right? I'm talking about real pain that happens in sobriety. And I'm just sitting there, Glenn, listening to this kid, and I'm like, how did you do it? How did you do it? How did you? And he said, and I'll shut up and let you chime in, but he said, I almost drank over that. Or I don't know if I would have drank over that before, but I didn't, right? But I didn't. And I'm like, how did you do that? And so my brain goes to, what happens if something happens to Nancy? What happens if something happens to Mom, one of our favorite listeners? What happens when shit happens?
Yeah, that was really powerful. And all right, so let's try to dissect this a little bit if we can. Let's talk about expectations, okay? Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of listeners that are early sobriety. I hear the stories. So when you got sober, like when you were on the ride, I'm sorry I laughed, but when you're on the ride to Rockville,
yes,
right, thinking, I might have overshot this. Absolute raging alcoholic, like sick as a dog, ICU, right? And you asked for help. Mm-hmm. And Nancy was there in 30 seconds or very quickly. She was there. And you're driving to rehab thinking, I might have overshot this. Maybe I don't need this level of help.
True story.
I mean, did you have any expectation of any thoughts of what life would be like?
Oh, I had no idea.
Okay, got it. Okay. So when as I reflect back, let's just say 95% of my life crises were a result of drinking, like manufactured consequences from drinking, right? The other 5% is just life. Now today, I still have the 5% of life, right? I mean, shit happens. Life happens. Life is tough. Life is challenging. A lot of crazy stuff in this world. Life happens, but that's 5%. So my life is so much easier today because I don't have the 95% of crisis manufactured from drinking. Right? So that's kind of one way to...
Okay, right.
That's one bucket I want to put out
That's
there.
true.
Second thing is, when I stopped drinking, I thought everything was going to be good, right? What I didn't realize, and what folks have to understand is, it goes back to the big book, right? Where the dude comes out of the tornado cellar and say, "Look, Ma, the wind stopped blowing," right? Meanwhile, there's absolute devastation all around you, right? That was me. I came out of, in September of 2014. I'm like, "Look, everybody, I stopped drinking," right? But I had the seismic aftershocks of the damage and the waves of aftermath that took years to settle down. And when I say years, it was probably 3 or 4 years. To where I felt like I was on a calm, smooth, level playing field. The 5% was still there. Now all of a sudden the 5% becomes 100%.
Right.
You understand that, right?
Yes, right.
So now I'm facing 100%, but the 100% is manageable. The 5%, when you take away the 95%, I hope somebody understands this. When you take away the 95%, the 5% becomes 100% because that's all you got in front of you.
I'm picturing our listeners driving along in the road, and now they pulled over with a piece of paper and a pen, and they're trying to draw a pie chart.
God, and you wonder why we're not Joe Rogan, right?
That's okay.
God. So now, but that's now 100% of my life, right?
Yeah, right.
But I mean, things I had to deal with. First of all, I didn't really have to deal with relationships because I burned them all, right? So I mean, literally, I mean, I've rebuilt 2 relationships, and I have a good relationship with my ex-wife now, but she's remarried, I'm remarried, but we're at least really cool with each other. But my 2 daughters, I rebuilt relations with them. Everybody else, I mean, that was kind of my calling card in rehab. Everybody's like challenging their ex-wife or their wives are yelling at them. I'm like, I don't have to deal with any of that shit. Meanwhile, I was lonely because I didn't have to deal with any of that shit, right? So one is relationships. I burned all mine, but I had issues like, my career. I had issues with the IRS, right? I mean, they were seismic, right? Aftershocks that I had to deal with for years. And the AA program taught me how to deal with those. The seismic aftershocks, a lot of times for me, it was internal. It was, how do I deal with myself through this situation, right? So, yeah, I love listening to that guy in our session here today.
But did you,
our session?
Yes. Didn't you feel? I mean, I felt his pain. I felt his pain, and at the same time, I was so admirable of his response to that pain, which brings us back to what you said. I mean, he said if he didn't have Arcosa to turn to when he had death in his family and a cancer diagnosis in his family, that if he didn't have Arcosa, that community to turn to, he truly doesn't know if he would have made it out sober. And that, I think, comes right back to what you kicked off with. I mean, he had numbers, he had people to turn to.
All right, so let's throw this out here, right? Let's walk through, okay? When the shit hits the fan.
Right.
And hey, it can be real, it can be perceived, it could be, most of the time, our shit is overblown. Mentally, we make a bigger deal out of it than it really is, right? What I've learned through time is, when I'm faced with an immediate challenge, a new shock, right? First thing I do is just say, okay, and I don't react, because my first reaction is usually wrong, right? My knee-jerk reaction is usually wrong. The brain's set up with a fight or flight. Fight, flight, or fuck. So mean, that's like the crock brain, right? So what I do is I at least set myself out, and what I know is the real situation is always different than my immediate knee-jerk reaction, right? And then I have a chance to, quantify it, qualify it, and then start to break it apart into solutions, right? But let's just walk through a real situation that I went through recently. Is I went to the doctor for
a bunch of stuff. By the way, kudos to you because you've gotten a complete, thorough walkthrough. And I think that's important. I think it's extremely important.
It's critical. What I know is I had to operate my optimal daily living. I got to be in the best health. Right. And so I went to my doctor. I got a full checkup. Well, guess what? My liver counts were 5 times what they were a year ago. Like alarming. Now, let's just say that could be a situation where the shit hits the fan.
Right. That's right.
And I immediately said to myself, fuck. And I'm like, I don't deserve this, right? The first place my mind went was the C word, cirrhosis. And I'm like, first of all, I deserve to get cirrhosis, right? First of all. But, my first response was, okay, it finally got me, right? Then my second response was ego and selfishness. It was, I don't deserve this shit. I haven't drank for over 9 years. I'm doing all the right stuff. I didn't have cirrhosis then. Why in the world would I get it now, right? Like, I don't deserve this.
Maybe it's in the muffins.
It is in the muffins. So that was like this. I got a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of people relying on me, and I'm like, this is the last. This is not good, right? So there was shit in the fan. So the first thing I did, and I was gonna say you're gonna be disappointed in me, but my first go-to, I think, should be pray, right? But it never is. My first go-to is I call my sponsor.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is. That's just my knee-jerk reaction because you know what? A problem shared is a problem halved. And all of a sudden I'm facing this, right? And my doctor says, hey, man, I have no idea what's going on. This is not good, right? That's what my general practitioner doctor says, right? And I'm like, I'm envisioning sitting there and saying, you got the C word, either cirrhosis or cancer, right? And people face that every single day. I mean, those conversations happen.
That's what I'm talking about, the real shit.
Right. I mean, and so first thing I did, I'm like, okay, and what I did, first of all, is I relied on what I just said earlier. There have been tens of thousands of situations I have gotten through over the last 10 years without having to take a drink. And I have tools to get through them. My first reaction is, I will get through this. I will handle this. I will get through this because I have that level of confidence. And then I picked up my phone with my sponsor because I don't do this shit alone, right? Now, eventually, within a couple hours, I prayed, right? But I needed, right there on the spot, and maybe that's a defect. Maybe I should call God first. But I called my sponsor, and I'm like, dude, I just got, he goes, hey, do the next right thing, man. Get the next level of tests. I'm like, I got it. He goes, we're going to get through this. I mean, I just got chills. I can't tell you the fucking power that has. People carry all these loads by themselves. They carry all the shit on their own backs, and they don't have to. You don't have to. So then my doctor says, well, we got to take a next level of tests. So I'm like, okay. So I go, blood tests. I love this. So I go, fail them even worse. Right? I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So then I call my sponsor, like, dude, we're next steps, right? Like, that didn't really impact me because all it did was validate the first test, right? So then next I have to go to these liver ultrasounds and stuff. So I'm in with the girl, and I personally am joking around, and I'm trying to get her, who's doing the ultrasound, to give me some sort of indication, right? Which C word is it? And I told her, I said, hey, I drank heavy, really heavy. And I said, I haven't drank for almost 10 years. And
you didn't give her the whole story, did you?
Well, I didn't give her the 2-foot level, but I gave her the 80,000 foot level, right? Just to just kind of feed
give
her
the
some
background, so she knows what she's looking for.
What she's looking at, right? And so she's, I'm watching screen while she's looking at the screen. It's an ultrasound. I can't,
Mm-hmm.
And of course,
did you see like a fetus in there?
Dude, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Almost. It's a tapeworm, but no. But I so of course, before I went, I went to Dr. Google, and I got ultrasound images of cirrhosis, ultrasound images of cancers, right? So I'm on the screen. I got my PhD in 5 minutes on Google before I went to my appointment. So I'm trying to read the screen myself, and I'm seeing some shit, right? And so I'm trying to get her, she's just a tech, right? But I'm trying to get her reaction, right? And all she kept saying is, she says, all I can tell you, this is a very accurate ultrasound. I'm getting great measurements. I'm getting great pictures. The doctors will be able to get great readings and great results from this. I'm like, yeah, but can't you sway me one, And she's like, that's not my job. And normally I can get somebody to give me a nod, right? And so now I got to wait 5 days for the results, right? But
that's shit happening.
Yeah, but you know what? I called Timmy and I'm like, dude, it was funny. I used the word dude for God. I used the word dude for Timmy. Maybe that says something. But I sit there and I'm like, dude, hey, I couldn't get anything out. He goes, it's not her job. I hate it when he does that. I'm like, oh, I failed. I couldn't get her to give me an indication. He goes, hey man, 5 days. He says, you've been 10 years sober. You can wait 5 days. I'm like, you're absolutely right. So, I went in I had esophagus surgery, and so I went down to get my other doctor. They're all in one spot. They're one-stop shop.
You got your own private parking spot there at the
I should.
Pavilion?
I totally should. So I went down, and the nurse comes out, and she goes, hey, I'd like to talk about your results. And I'm like, like the Hollywood studio, sitting at the desk with the light above me, and she goes, she just can't believe it. She goes, your results are all clear. She goes, we see 0 issues. She goes, you got a little fat on your liver. I'm like, duh. I'm like, okay. I'm like, join the team. I got fat around every part of my body. So, she goes, we cannot figure out why your counts are high. We're just going to ride it for another 6 months, and we'll do tests in 6 months. She goes, we looked at your gallbladder, your kidney, and your liver. Everything's perfect.
Wow.
So I'm like, boom, let's go.
Right.
But I mean, just and so it helped me reflect on when shit hits the fan, right? And it doesn't matter what it is. I use the same tools. Right. And you say, what happened to Nancy? I get that, man. That would be a devastating stomach punch, head punch, knockout blow, But I can sit here. First of all, I will be right there with you. First of all, along with about 30 others right there with you, and we will figure it out. We will hold your hand. We will hold you up until we figure it out. That is what I have 1,000% confidence in, because that's how this shit works. So life comes, right? And I sit there and, oh my God, I was in the grocery store. I was early for a business lunch, and I stopped in to get this stevia for this slurry I got to make for my throat, right? And I walked by the liquor station.
Yeah.
I'm like, I had a big major lunch. I'm like, how cool would it be to go back in a red Solo cup, to my office this afternoon and just smooth out after a really tough, long, pounding week, just smooth out. I just laughed, because I'm like, you know what? And what I remembered was Glenn in one Solo cup would ruin everything that I had worked so hard for over the last 10 years.
Yeah, and I'll take it one step further.
One Solo cup.
One sip of that Solo cup. Because I know that I won't stop at the first sip.
Never.
I mean, so, yes, you end up with the whole Solo cup. You end up with the whole world back in your face. You end up with the same level of pain that you had before.
But you know what?
All starting with one sip.
I used to drink because I didn't have any tools.
Right. Yep.
That was my coping tool. That was my go-to tool, I'll escape.
Right.
When I got the IRS envelope through the IRS, I didn't even open it. Throw it in the drawer. Literally, I threw it in the drawer and I'd pour myself another.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how I dealt with life.
Right.
You know, and I got consequences from it, you know. But not, I'm telling you, life, everybody who listens to this podcast, shit is going to hit the fan.
Right.
It's, do you have the right mindset, the right tools to be able to process it, to feel it, to embrace it, and then say, okay, what's the next right step in this situation, and who can I bring along with me? Mm-hmm. I'm telling you,
That's
everybody
the secret
thinks they
sauce.
should carry the load themselves. You know, I mean, there's not a day where I don't reach out and get help from people for whatever the situation is, including you. I reach out to you often.
Yep.
You know,
Likewise.
so hey, man,
Love this, man. Yep.
Even though we drink and stop drinking, I'm telling you, there's going to be seismic aftershocks.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, some of them are waves. Some of them could be tsunamis.
Right.
There's relationships. There's financial. Right. There's society, social type issues. You know, maybe your neighbors are pissed at you because you used to empty all your liquor bottles on the front lawn. I don't know.
I've got a neighbor. I don't know what I did, but I did something, and this goes deep, like 10, 15. He won't even acknowledge. He won't even
Go
eyeball
up and
me.
talk to him.
Yeah, I should do that.
You should. Hey, brother, look, man.
I don't know what happened because I really, honestly don't know what happened.
You know what you should do? You should go say, hey, brother, look, man, you know, I've changed. I'm a different person today. You know, I think you're really cool. We don't need to have a great relationship, but I just want you to know I probably did some crazy shit in my past. You know, hey, man, if I ever did anything to offend you, I'm sorry.
Right.
You know, I'm a knucklehead, but I'm really working on it. And hopefully I'm less of a knucklehead today. And hey, if I'm doing stuff today that's bothering you, just let me know.
Right.
Say I'm wide open, man. I just want to be good for you.
I
think that's cool.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
You know, I really do. And that way, what that does, next time you drive down your street and you see them, there's no trepidation, man. There's like, you feel at peace inside. That's the fucking 8-9 step.
Yeah. Right. There you go.
You know?
I love it.
Even though you don't know what you did.
It's the process.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe you didn't do anything.
Right.
And maybe he's just a jerk.
Right.
You know, but you walk away from that and guy feels some love.
Right.
You know? Just say, hey, man, I just care about you. If there's anything I can do for you, just let me know.
Love it. Love it.
All right,
love
bro.
you, man. Good session.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@sober.coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.
Stay safe in the city of Chicago.